The topic of my course paper is Language Teaching Through Critical Thinking and Self-Awareness. Critical thinking is the pursuit of relevant and reliable knowledge about the world. It is reasonable, reflective, responsive, and skillful thinking focused on what to believe or do. It is skillful, responsible thinking that facilitates good judgment because it relies upon criteria, it's self-correcting, and it is sensitive to the context. It is purposeful, self-regulatory judgment which results in interpretation analysis, evaluation, and interference, as well as explanation of the evidential, conceptual, methodological, criteriological, and conceptual considerations upon which the judgment is based. Critical thinking is being responsive to variable subject matter, issues, and purposes, is incorporated in a family of interwoven methods of thinking among them scientific thinking, mathematical, historical, anthropological, economic, moral, and philosophical thinkings. 3 skills to improve critical thinking. Interpretational skills. Fassion defines interpretation as comprehending and expressing meaning based on experiences, situations, data, and beliefs. The interpretation skill is comprised of 2 sub-skills: categorization of information, which is especially relevant to the context of survey interpretation, since grouping similar ideas together is essential for formatting a questionnaire that will generate useful data, and clarifying meaning, which also has a role to play that is vital for researchers to be able to analyze their questions for biased or leading language. Interference skill. Interference means considering relevant information and determining the consequences resulting from data and statements, beliefs, or other forms of representation. As a subskill of interference, students have to draw a conclusion to identify characters based on elements exhibited on posters. Self-regulation skill. The self-regulation skill is perhaps the most remarkable critical thinking skill because it enables the critical thinkers to improve their own thinking. Self-regulation occurs when we self-consciously monitor and evaluate our own work with a view toward questioning, confirming, or correcting either our reasoning or results. The notion of language awareness is defined as explicit knowledge about language and conscious perception and sensitivity in language learning, language teaching, language use, and is approach that attempts to develop learners' explicit understanding of language as well as an awareness of their own learning by involving them in discovery-oriented tasks. Language awareness blends into content about language, language skill, attitudinal education, metacognitive opportunities. Language awareness includes 3 crucial elements: form, meaning, and pronunciation. Form includes all grammatical structures, words, and phrases we use to convey a certain message. Each form carries a particular meaning and as such serves as a tool for conveying intended messages. Meaning is the message we want to convey or communicate. In order to do that effectively, we need to use grammatical structures. It is important to know the difference between the meaning and the structure. For example, in the sentence "I teach English," the form of the verb is present simple, but the meaning is the action I do regularly. Pronunciation is the way we say the words, and it is based on the set of complex rules that need to be followed in order to understand and to be understood. It also includes word stress, sentence stress, and intonation, all the elements that can both convey a meaning as well as change it. Self-awareness is the ability to see yourself clearly and objectively through reflection and introspection. Strategies to improve self-awareness. Meditation can help students disconnect from their negative thought patterns. Once realizing that their negative thoughts don't control them, meditation allows students to achieve stronger self-awareness and more control over their thoughts. Self-regulation, the ability to understand and control one's emotions, is an invaluable skill to learn. Teachers can help students become better self-regulators by coaching them through difficult situations. Strategies that also help to improve self-awareness. Stress management. Helping students to develop proactive stress management techniques can improve conflict resolution and ensure everyone's needs are met. Teachers should look at their personal stress management techniques to help identify when students can and might benefit from them. This has the potential to improve school climate overall for both teachers and students. Set weekly individual goals. For instance, at the end of each week, teachers can give students time to reflect on why they did or didn't meet these goals. This encourages students to think deeply about their own behaviors and abilities. Metacognition is a form of self awareness that involves being aware of one's ability to think and learn, which helps students achieve the highest levels. Encouraging critical reading. Passive reading tasks include silent reading, responding to multiple choice exercises, superficial comprehension questions, gap filling exercises, true false statements, vocabulary, and dictionary work. These tasks involve silent reading and they do not require students to read deeply in order to answer the questions, as once students locate the information in the text and they are not likely to find the correct answer. Thus, these tasks often limited potential for learning. Active reading tasks require students to go above the superficial reading of the text, go to reading between the lines. Basically, these tasks involve students working together in pairs or groups with or without supervision of the teacher. In order to negotiate answers to questions, tasks considered active may include creating diagrams and filling the tables. Grape presents strong evidence that by making diagrams and tables when reading text, students can better understand the unity and logic of the information presented, and as a consequence, will be there to locate the main ideas and distinguish them from the more important information. The effort to teach students how to make graphic representation of text can be more time consuming, but it can help them become more profound readers. To improve critical reading, Hawking advises teachers to consider students' age and interests so that lesson will be more compatible with their experience and more profitable. Hawking emphasizes the importance of assigning reading material that refers to a subject and information with which students are familiar. This material can often be found in English language newspapers and magazines that deal with a topic of a local interest. There should be three phases to teach the reading. The first phase is pre-reading discussion, which consists of introducing the topic and preparing students for the text. The second phase includes while reading tasks, in which students are provided with a set of instructions to give them a purpose for reading and to serve as a guide for them when they read. The first phase includes post-reading exercises, which students are given short comprehension questions, vocabulary work, a discussion of the topic and the author's interpretation, and/or a summary writing assignment. As a post-reading activity, there are three questions. What verb tenses are used in the article? Which subjects are described using passive or active voice and why? What purpose do the metaphors serve in the text? The aim of this question is to help students read more critically and consider whether the article was meant to inform, influence, or entertain the reader. To discuss such questions, students have to rely on their own experience as readers of newspapers in their own language and they are familiar with the language and the genre of articles. At this point, the teacher and students can discuss the structure of newspaper articles. Typically, the information presented first will be understood by most readers as more important, and what appeals the last will be considered as least important. An analysis of verb tenses and voice provide students with the opportunity to discuss the author's purpose in choosing the particular tense or voice he or she did. The use of passive voice can emphasize the facts given, but at the same time minimize the role of participants in the events. Students need to consider the significance of choices like this. Design thinking in classroom. A design thinking consists of mental habits and behavior that make it possible to do the design thinking and generate effective designs using design process. Some essential qualities of design thinking mentality include the belief that mistakes lead to new knowledge, that people should try new ideas rather than wait for ideal circumstances before trying, and learn to be comfortable with discomfort. Adjusting to a design thinking mindset can be a messy and challenging experience that requires thinking differently from how people usually do. DEEP. DEEP is an acronym for Discover, Emphasize, Experiment, Produce. DT represents design thinking. The discover phase is about researching and understanding the issue students are trying to solve. This phase may include reading articles and watching videos about the problem, interviewing experts that work on the problem or similar problems. The discover phase is about collecting information. In this phase, students take notes and gather resources that may help in dealing with the problem. The discover phase is good time in process for breaking in a class into groups or designing teams that can work together. It is also a good way for teams to learn about one another since they will be working together to solve a problem. It can be very helpful for the teams to spend time discussing each other's strengths and weaknesses and how the team wants to share responsibilities. In the empathy phase, the design team focuses on learning everything they can about people who will be using the problem. These people are known as the users. The aim of the empathy phase is to be able to look at the problem from the users' points of views instead of the design points of view. By emphasizing, designers can better create solutions that truly meet the user's needs rather than just an easy or inexpensive solution. The experiment phase is the third phase and is usually the one where students have the most fun. The experiment phase requires students to brainstorm and generate lots and lots of ideas of what might work as a solution to the problem. Students should be encouraged to think of all sorts of wild and crazy ideas without worrying about the concerns such as cost and suitability. The goal of this phase is to come up and try lots of other solutions. The produce phase is the final phase in deep design thinking, and it requires students to develop a solution that is ready to receive feedback from the users. It is important to understand that the produce phase, the solution goes not to have a look on professional and to be perfect. Designers call these solutions prototypes. They are the first attempt but are completely enough to obtain a feedback. Some activities. Design thinking. Imagine you're working for a company that designed an amazing new bike, but not a super fast racing bike, a cruiser. It's made to help people get into cycling. It's simple to ride, no gears, and doesn't require all that spandex. How would you sell it to people who aren't avid cyclists? What would an approachable experience look like? Step 1. Start with emotions. Start by thinking about the emotions that play into this scenario. What's it like to buy a bike when you know nothing about biking? Write down how that might make you feel. Step 2. Identify analogous experiences. What other experiences outside the biking industry might evoke similar emotions? Step 3. Reflect and connect. How does this inspiration from others unlock creative solutions for your own challenge? What concepts would you borrow from other industries or places that you might apply in your bike store? The background is this exercise was a part of IDEO team project in order to find out how to get the non-cyclist demographic into intimidating bike store. They sent the entire design team to Sephora, a beauty supply shop. The goal was to see how they felt being in a store with products fairly foreign to them and to help them build empathy for non-cyclists likely feel walking into the bike shop. Number 2. Mind meter. Part 1. Answer the questions below. Remember, anyone who knows about your character should be able to see a clear and obvious connection between your character and the items in your mind meter. 1. Name of the character. 2. Write or draw two objects that best represent this person's belief and experiences or symbols. 3. When I think of this person's life, what do I see him or her doing? Where is he or she? Background images. 4. List two words, adjectives that describe this person's feelings or actions. 5. If this person could speak, what would she or he say? Provide two sentences, quotations. 6. Write two statements that describe how you feel about the character. Original statements. I think that the character. Part 2. Each group member will illustrate at least one item from part 1 on a poster outline of your character's head. This doesn't have to be a normal picture. Instead, feel free to use words and pictures to make the facial features, hair, eyes, nose, ears, lips, etc. of your character. Do not share your character's name with other groups. Viewers should be able to identify your character based on elements they see in your mind mirror. Thank you for your attention.